The Amazon does not forgive miscalculation. Every year, experienced hunters, guides, and researchers enter its canopy and never return. In January 2023, Jonathan Acosta, a 30-year-old Bolivian man from the jungle town of Baures, walked into the Amazonian rainforest of Beni Department on what should have been a routine hunting trip. He never came back out. For 31 days, the jungle swallowed him whole. January 25th, 2023. The Baures region, Department of Beni, northern Bolivia, a vast lowland of flooded savannas, winding rivers, and rainforest canopies so dense it blocks the sky. Jonathan Acosta was 30 years old, born and raised in Baures, and no stranger to the jungle surrounding his hometown. According to reporting by Bolivian outlet Unitel Television, and later covered by international outlets including CBS News and the BBC, Acosta had set out with 4 friends on a hunting trip into the forest, an area they knew or believed they knew. By his own account, given to Bolivian television in the weeks after his rescue, the group had also hoped to explore a zone rumored to hold precious stones. He carried minimal equipment, a shotgun, a single cartridge, and a lighter. What he did not have was a machete, a knife, or a flashlight. He had hunted in this region before. The familiarity was understandable and catastrophic. What he didn't account for was how quickly the forest floor erases the landmarks a person trusts. January 25th, 2023, several hours into the journey. According to Acosta's own account to Unitel T5, later reported by CBS News and Infobae, he became separated from his companions during the first day of the trip. The Bolivian Amazon's terrain offers no fixed visual reference below the canopy. Waterways shift seasonally, the jungle floor is dark even at midday, and every direction can look identical within minutes of leaving a known path. He made a decision. He would push forward, trusting he could reorient by following the sound of water. By the time the light began to fail, he had found neither his companions nor any landmark he recognized. As darkness settled through the canopy, he used the lighter to start a small fire. He sat beside it and told himself he would find them in the morning. He did not find them in the morning. January 26th, 2023. Somewhere in the Baures jungle, Beni, Bolivia. By the second morning, Acosta understood he was lost. His companions, according to subsequent reporting by Bolivian outlet Correo del Sur, had returned without him, and the process of raising an alarm in such a remote region took time. Baures is a small town with limited communications infrastructure, and getting word to family and organizing any kind of search required days, not hours. He made his first critical survival decision. Stop moving blindly. Assess what he had. Build from there. What he had: a shotgun with 1 cartridge, a lighter, and whatever the jungle would give him. What he did not have was a knife, a map, or any way to communicate. What he was about to face would not last 2 days. It would last 31. Back in Baures, his family did not yet know he was missing. Days 2 through 4. Deep jungle, Baures region, Beni, Bolivia. Without a blade of any kind, Acosta could not process game, clear vegetation efficiently, or cut into the plant matter around him. According to his first-person account, published by Orato World Media, he began eating what he could find and access with his bare hands: insects, larvae, and worms pulled from the soil and from beneath rotting bark. He later told Bolivian radio station Radio Panamericana, as reported by Infobae, that he ate them without hesitating. Stopping to think about it, he said, was a luxury he could not afford. Water was a more immediate problem than food in the first days. The jungle was humid, but did not always have accessible running water. According to his account to Unitel TV, as cited by CBS News, Acosta drank his own urine in the early days before he found reliable sources of rainwater. Once the rains came, he collected water in his boots and drank from cupped leaves. On day 4, according to his brother Horacio Acosta, quoted by Pagina 7 and confirmed across multiple Bolivian outlets, Jonathan dislocated his ankle. He kept moving on it regardless, but the jungle had more to take from him. Days 5 through 8. Acosta located a river and followed it, a logical survival choice in Amazonian terrain, where waterways tend toward lower elevation and occasionally toward inhabited areas. According to his account in Orato World Media, he walked the riverbank for multiple days, hoping it would lead him somewhere recognizable. It did not. The river curved through flooded forest, the banks dissolving into standing water and root tangles. He was covering distance, but gaining no orientation. He turned back. Days of effort were reversed. The toll was becoming physical. His boots had taken on water repeatedly. He used them each day, not only as shoes, but as containers, collecting rainwater for drinking. The skin on his feet had begun to break down under constant moisture. He used the lighter each night to build a small fire, not for warmth, but for light in the absolute darkness of the canopy floor, and to keep insects away from his face while he slept. His ankle was worsening. No one had found him yet. Days 9 through 13. A dislocated ankle in a jungle environment is not a survivable injury if it becomes an immobile one. Acosta kept walking in short distances, carefully, conserving energy. He foraged in tight radiuses from wherever he stopped, eating whatever he could reach: insects, worms, and, when he could find them, the wild fruits that grew in the understory. Latin Post's reporting, citing Bolivian media accounts, says Acosta found and ate gargatillas, a local papaya-like wild fruit, during his time in the jungle. It provided sugar and moisture when he could locate it. He was now visibly deteriorating. His belt had been pulled to its last notch within the first 2 weeks. Insects had colonized his skin. Parasitic larvae had burrowed beneath the surface. He had also used his single shotgun cartridge. According to his brother Horacio, quoted by Pagina 7 and confirmed by multiple outlets, Jonathan had fired it to scare off a group of pecaries, aggressive wild boar-like animals that had cornered him. The gun was now useless as a weapon. Back in Boris, the search was finally being organized, but it had a long way to reach him. Late January 2023. Boris and the surrounding jungle. According to CBS News, Acosta's family reported him missing at the end of January, days after he had failed to return with the rest of the hunting party. Organizing a search in the Bores region is not a matter of calling emergency services. The town is remote, access is limited, and the jungle that surrounds it is vast and largely featureless from above. His family coordinated the search themselves, according to accounts in Correo del Sur and Aju.tv, hiring local residents, engaging community members, and eventually chartering small private planes to scan the canopy from the air. Acosta knew none of this. Below 40 meters of canopy, sound from light aircraft is diffused and swallowed by vegetation. In his account to Orato World Media, he described seeing small planes pass overhead during his ordeal, but being unable to signal them effectively. The canopy between him and the sky was unbroken. The aircraft came and went. He watched them through the leaves. Days 13 through 18. The Bolivian Amazon in late January and February sits in the middle of its wet season. Daily rainfall, heavy, prolonged, often arriving without warning, is a constant. For Acosta, this was both salvation and punishment. Salvation. The rain gave him water. He caught it in his upturned boots, in cupped leaves, in natural hollows in roots. He no longer needed to drink his own urine. Punishment. The ground beneath him was perpetually saturated. He had no tent, no ground cover, no dry surface. According to his account in Orato World Media, he slept sitting against tree trunks rather than lying on the wet ground, a position that gave him almost no rest. He kept building the fire each night. The lighter was becoming unreliable, the flint worn from daily use, the fuel reservoir depleting with each strike. He had begun counting strikes. If it didn't catch quickly, he stopped and saved the remaining fuel. Some nights it took many attempts. It always caught so far. But the worst of what the jungle could do to a human body was still coming. Days 18 through 22. The turning point came around day 18. By Acosta's own account, given to Bolivian television after his rescue, he made a deliberate decision. Stop trying to navigate out. Every attempt at movement cost calories he could not replace, risked worsening his ankle, and produced no recognizable landmarks. The jungle looked identical in every direction. He found a position, a slight rise near a water source, and made it his base. Survival medicine principles support this logic. In dense terrain with no navigational reference points, remaining stationary maximizes discoverability and minimizes metabolic cost. He structured his days around what he could control. Mornings, water collection and fire maintenance. Late morning, foraging within a short radius. Afternoons, rest, foot care, insect removal from his skin. Evenings, fire, stillness, conservation. The simple routine reduced unnecessary exertion and helped him conserve energy. He was still eating insects and worms, still finding gargantuas when he could, still alive. Somewhere above the canopy, the search grid was being redrawn. Days 22 through 26. The fundamental challenge of signaling in dense jungle is the canopy itself. Acosta had no mirror, no signal whistle, no bright clothing designed for visibility. What he had was the lighter and wood. According to his account in Arato World Media, he kept his fire going as consistently as fuel and weather allowed. Smoke in a canopy environment is absorbed and diffused before it rises high enough to be visible to aircraft. He understood, from watching the planes pass, that he needed to be seen from ground level by someone on foot more than from the air. He kept the fire burning. He stayed near the water source where anyone on foot might logically search. He kept his boots, his only piece of equipment other than the gun, in a visible position near the fire. The lighter was now difficult to start. The flint offered fewer sparks with each strike. One evening it failed on the first several attempts. He sat in the dark and waited. Then he struck again. It caught. He did not know the search party was moving closer. February 25th, 2023, in the Baras jungle. On the 31st day, according to reporting by Correo del Sur and CBS News, a search party organized by Acosta's family was moving through the jungle on foot. The group included local residents from Baras who knew the terrain. Acosta saw them first. According to Global News and Correo del Sur, he spotted the search party approximately 300 meters away and began limping toward them through thorny undergrowth, shouting. A local resident who was part of the group later told Baras Community Television that the first thing Acosta said when he reached them was, "Please, get me out of here." He had lost 17 kilograms, 37 pounds, in 31 days. His ankle was swollen and deformed. Larvae had burrowed beneath the skin of his arms and legs. He was severely dehydrated and weakened. He was alive. The lighter lay beside the cold fire. The flint was nearly gone. February 25th through 26th, 2023, Baras and onward, Bolivia. The local medical facility in Baras was not equipped to treat the full extent of Acosta's condition. According to his brother Horatio, in an interview with Bolivian outlet Aju.tv, Jonathan was transported by small charter plane to Cochabamba, where he could receive proper care. His medical situation on arrival included severe dehydration, a dislocated ankle, kidney problems, anemia, fluid retention, and parasitic larvae still living beneath his skin. His family was with him when he landed. In his first interviews with Bolivian media, Acosta described the structure he had imposed on himself, the rationing, the daily routines, the decision to stop moving, as what had kept him alive. Not luck, not instinct, process. Jonathan Acosta entered the Bolivian Amazon with a shotgun, one cartridge, and a lighter. He came out 31 days later on his own feet. He survived not because he was extraordinary, but because under conditions that break most people, he kept doing the next small right thing. That discipline, repeated across hundreds of decisions over a month, is what brought him home. Survival isn't one dramatic decision. It's 1,000 small correct actions. Ration deliberately, signal consistently, protect your ability to move, preserve energy, stay near water, and stay in one place when movement costs more than it gains. Here is what this story teaches. Never enter remote jungle without a cutting tool. Acosta had no machete, no knife, nothing to process food, clear brush, or build proper shelter. A basic fixed-blade knife weighs almost nothing and changes everything. File a precise trip plan with someone reliable. The search took days to organize because no one knew Acosta's exact route or intended area. In terrain with no cell coverage, a written route plan left with a trusted person is the difference between a targeted search and a guessing game. Stop moving when you lose orientation in featureless terrain. Acosta's decision around day 18 to establish a fixed base and stop exhausting himself navigating blind was, by his own account, the turning point. In dense jungle, movement without landmarks compounds disorientation. Know which local plants are edible before you need them. Acosta survived partly on gargatillas, a wild fruit native to the Bolivian Amazon. Knowing what grows in the specific ecosystem you are entering before you enter it is not optional in a long-duration survival situation. Protect your feet as a medical priority. A dislocated ankle on day 4 nearly ended Acosta's survival. Proper boots, ankle support, and the discipline to care for any foot injury before it becomes a mobility crisis are non-negotiable. Treat your fire-starting equipment as a critical finite resource. Acosta's lighter was nearly depleted by the time he was found. Carry multiple fire-starting methods: lighter, waterproof matches, ferro rod, and treat all of them as precious. Stay near water sources and make yourself findable on foot, not just from the air. Acosta's rescuers found him on the ground, not from a plane. In dense canopy, aerial visibility is nearly impossible. Staying near a water source and keeping a consistent fire going gave the ground team a reason and a place to search. What survival decision in this story do you think you would have made differently? If Acosta's story stayed with you, subscribe for more true accounts of survival, endurance, and the decisions that determine who comes home.